All right. I've got on this episode of the Garlic Marketing Show one of the smartest, great business owner, four-time success, Chad Rubin. We're going to talk about the AI tools he's using for Facebook ads, the number one thing opportunity right now for Amazon store owners. We're going to talk about the secrets of pricing in his e-com business, about the reckless advice that people are giving out there about pricing, the problem with copying your competitor's price, how to get a 10% increase in profit in your business, and the problem with ROAS and what you should be looking at instead, how to incentivize the right behavior, how they're becoming an AI first, his closet AI hack, which I loved, the problem with LinkedIn content and the AI shift that he's doing, his LinkedIn algorithm secret, and how he's using Facebook ads, the way he's using Facebook ads and AI to grow his SaaS, as well as recruiting. All of this on the Garlic Marketing Show. But of course, this is brought to you by videocasestory.com. One of the best ways to grow any business is through customer stories. And you got to find your $1 million case story. Go to videocasestory.com/finder to get our tool to help you find that $1 million story. All right, let's get started.
My name is Gino Wickman. I was introduced to Ian, and that's what brought me into this video world and got me embracing this video world. And Ian did exactly what I hoped. He got me really comfortable with putting videos out to the world and having a great strategy around putting videos out to the world, because there's so much more than just shooting a video. And so the way that he positions those videos, optimizes those videos, he's done a great job.
All right. You know, when you look at Chaos, you started a company before, Scubana. Is this your second SaaS company, or do I remember?
No, this is my fourth company, actually.
Fourth. Wow, your fourth company.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just think back on Chaos, other opportunities out there that you've seen and you've taken advantage when it was chaotic.
Well, I think, yeah. So if you look at like even what happened in the past 5 years, e-commerce has been crushed by chaos in general. You've got chaos from a pandemic. You have chaos from China coming in and selling direct online. You have algorithm changes on Amazon. You've got fake review things happening on Amazon. So I think when you look back over the past 5 years, you have people who panic, and then you have people who observe the pattern, right, and capitalize on it and find those openings, and that's where the money is.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And, yeah.
And when's the first time you realized that? Like, what? Because it takes something in your gut, right, to go,
yeah.
Oh, because it's like the instant reaction always to chaos is, oh, let me stop. But you at some point you have to realize that, hey, I got to lean into this. When was the first time you realized that?
Bro, you're about to go really deep on me here. So I grew up obese. And so I come from this place of always being outside of the herd in a way, like I was made fun of. And so when that happens and you're growing up always on the outside, I think you see the world in a different way. And like you're like, I'm no longer, even though I look at myself in the mirror and I see a fat person, even though maybe I'm not physically fat, you can't remove the fat challenges from me. So I think that's probably the first time that I realized it, when I was like really excluded and ostracized from childhood. And that's really the beginning.
Wow. And it's amazing because those hard things are what make us, like, really is what makes us good. It's not the easy things. It's the tough thing. And so what was the first time you used it in business?
Well, honestly, this also goes way back, right? I started selling in high school. I got really into video games, and PlayStation had just come out, and I know I'm dating myself, but PS1 had come out, and so did what's called SCSI CD burners. And I essentially was a first mover on a SCSI CD burner. I started essentially copying Japanese imports like Dragon Ball Z and some other imports from Japan. I loved manga specifically growing up. And so I started actually going to Blockbuster and figured out that you can modify PlayStations and essentially copy CDs and sell them. And I started selling them. So like that's like operating on your own terms, right? That's like really finding something, an opportunity, and capitalizing on it. Now, in terms of like, as I grew up in life, we're talking about chaos right now. When I graduated college, all I wanted to do was get onto Wall Street. And in 2009 was the Great Recession, and the system was shaken up. The volatility in the system shook it up, and I actually got fired from my job and capitalized on that volatility by I started to actually sell on Amazon. My parents owned a vacuum store. I grew up with nothing when I was a kid, and yeah, I just capitalized on this opportunity. So I guess talking about chaos, right? Seeing through the noise and being like, this door closed, but an amazing door opened. And so right now there's like hidden patterns and there's doors that are closing right now. And if you can notice them, you can actually take advantage of it.
I think it's, and we look back in history, right? And it's like every big business was somehow, shape or form, really formed in the chaos. And I think you're right. Seeing the patterns, seeing the opportunities. Now, it's interesting because we bring it to Profasee, and I'm sure you're seeing just a ton of data on pricing. And I think pricing is absolutely fascinating because there's psychology, there's weirdness, there's time of day. Where are you seeing the opportunities right now in the chaos of pricing with tariffs?
So the reason why, by the way, Profasee came to be was after I sold my previous company, Stubana. We sold it in 2021, also during a time where there was massive volatility, COVID, and we capitalized on it, right? That's just another example. So as I went back, I have an e-commerce business today. So we make vacuum filters, coffee filters, air filters, cannabis filters. And that business has been under attack, right? Our P&L has been under attack. So I tried everything. I was trying to adjust our ad spend. I was trying to figure out how do we make our listings with a better conversion. And one of the things that we never touched was price because nobody talks about it. Suddenly now, by the way, everybody's talking about price. And so we're really in this interesting zone where we figured out price. Now, the reason why pricing on Amazon is so hard is that it's not like you can change your price and nothing happens. Your price impacts your order volume and your discoverability on Amazon. So there's a second order consequence that happens. So we figured for the past, since 2022, I raised 2.5 million, and I also put another $500,000 of my own capital. We've been working on this pricing challenge. So it just turns out that we're positioned really well right now. So right now with tariffs, there's a lot of noise happening, right? And going back to the noise, and people are thinking the world is going to collapse and there's chaos. Nobody knows what to do. And so Profasee specifically capitalizes on this volatility because we understand we've already built an engine that takes into account demand. It takes into account the patterns, the trends, the correlations that are invisible to the human eye. And we understand how to make price adjustments where it doesn't hurt your ranking position on Amazon. So when you hear these gurus on Amazon say, just raise your price 30%, it's actually very bad advice. In fact, fire that agency or whoever you're following right away because it's such reckless advice. So Profasee will work towards consciously and iteratively changing price to make sure it doesn't hurt your ranking position, but capitalizes on the intention that you have. That could be to make more money in profit. It could be to make more revenue. It could be to drive more velocity. But we do all those things in one platform.
It's so interesting, right? It's because everyone's, and even not just in e-commerce, but like in service industries, everyone's just like, just raise your price, just raise your price. And it's never as simple as just raising your price because you just shift the market, don't you?
For sure. And I know you're an investor, right? And the same thing with so that the market is not efficient.
No.
And investors people are making imperfect decisions. They're making unpredictable decisions. They're making bets. And Amazon is no different from the stock market. It's just another market where there's commodities that are being traded and customers are making irrational decisions. Your competitors are making imperfect decisions, and those become opportunities that you can capitalize on if you can identify and exploit them.
And so tell me, I mean, just explain to me. So if someone's never used Profasee before and they have an e-com store, how does it work?
So if you've never used Profasee, the first thing you do is you plug in your data. So you connect to the Amazon Seller Central account. US, we support all the international accounts. So right now we're only on Amazon. So we support brands that sell on Amazon, not resellers, people that own their own brand. So we don't compete on the buy box in a price war. We compete on the search engine ranking page where you're competing for page one on a specific keyword, because nobody knows how they price their product. Most people price their product by looking at their competition, then they copy the competitor that copied another competitor, and that competitor is broke. And I don't understand why we're copying those people. So you plug back to Profasee, right? You plug in your information, we connect to the API, we draw down all your data. We go back 2 years. I don't know if I'm going into too much detail, but we go back a long time horizon to understand seasonality, patterns, trends. We go out and find your competition. We import in and bring in all their data as well, their price, their inventory, their ranking position. And then we train the model around your data. And then we go into the optimization phase to capitalize on these mispricings that exist on the marketplace. And we rinse and repeat.
And when you first started this, what was, I mean, because I've always feel like with price and you go into this, I mean, I study this most of my life because I have a degree in economics, and price is obviously everything, but there's always surprises, right? Markets, like you said, are irrational. What was the biggest surprise when you started to see all this data coming in with price?
Honestly, it's been a journey. The difference, so a few things. One is like, this has never been done before, so there's no playbook.
Yeah.
I'm not building like a text messaging software where everyone knows how to build into Twilio and create a text message platform. Right? So I'm working in an opportunity zone that is never been done before. So there's no playbook. That was difficult. Two is what we realize is most companies never change their price. They're working on sort of like there's sleight of hand happening. Amazon wants you to spend more money on the platform. Amazon works with agencies to help you spend more money on the platform. The listings get optimized. Amazon loves to get their catalog improved and enriched, but Amazon doesn't want you changing price. Amazon wants you just to have the lowest price. So what we found is that a lot of brands don't change price. And when you don't change price, it actually creates a bigger challenge. If you don't change, imagine like you go on Facebook, which I know we'll talk about hopefully later. You're on Facebook and you never like anything. You never poke anybody. You never watch a video. The algorithm doesn't know what to serve you. And their outcome that they want is to have you constantly scrolling. And that hits your dopamine. So in the same way, if you never do anything, if you never interact with Facebook, it doesn't know what to serve you. And Profasee is no different. So when you never change price, we actually had to build a training model that we call it hyper learning. We force interaction data for 30 days to see how Amazon, how your competitors, and how your customers react to price changes. So we made small incremental changes and take those learnings into the model and make it stronger and build a nice, strong foundation to overcome this cold start problem. That's a huge learning, right? That nobody knew. We would have never known that unless we actually walked in the desert for a long period to figure it out.
Interesting. And when you start to do that, what's the feedback that you get?
Well, we understand how your competitors react. Like if you make a price change, do your competitors make a price change? Do they react? If you make a price change in your category, even for your subcategory on Amazon, does Amazon change your ranking a little bit? What happens to your ranking position, which is called a BSR? It's a proxy for your rank. Does that change at all? Right? Those are all signals that we pull into the model. Now, the unbelievable thing about AI, and I hate using the word AI because I think it's become so commoditized. It's kind of like paleo or keto. Um, it, it doesn't, like, just because you're eating a same paleo or gluten free doesn't necessarily mean that it's good for you. And so, specifically with our platform, we've built real AI in the background. So for every product, we build a demand model and a price model. So they all get their own models built around them automatically created. And it self-learns independent of our human creator. And then all these signals come in and it has massive amount of if-then statements that take all this data and all these signals to figure out what is the optimal decision. So we're talking about nodes and nodes of if-then statements that are incomprehensible to the human mind.
Interesting. It's so fascinating. And like what has this done for the people using it?
Yeah. So the biggest thing is that we drive results. So one of the real reasons I had started Profasee, I was like, not only just that I can use it for my own business and make more money and exploit these inefficiencies, but you're taking these inefficiencies and turning it into profit. So I believe, and my thesis starting this business was the days of SaaS making your life more efficient is over. And SaaS must make your life more effective or your business more effective, because you can have a tool and you can still be a fool, right? Because you're analyzing the data to figure out what are the decisions to make. But when we started this in 2021 in December, OpenAI had just released the first model somewhere around that point. It was within months. And I was like, okay, we can be at the intersection of AI first company, and we can focus on profit, and we can make businesses more effective, which is, to me, again, what I believe is the future of software as a service.
Yeah.
So we deliver profit. We typically, in the first 90 days, see a 10% lift in profit. Sometimes it's 20, sometimes it's 30, sometimes it's way more. But even just like imagining 10% more profit in your business is huge.
Yeah. I mean, especially now, I mean, 10% more profit is huge, right? It's because everyone thinks about, I think that's one of the things I always see is, especially marketing, it's ROAS, 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 right? But is that actual profit? And
now you're pushing my heartstrings on this conversation.
talk to me about that.
Well, I think you nailed it. I think the nailing of it is that ROAS is a revenue embedded metric. So everything is based on this revenue embedded metric. And actually, there's a world where you can increase price, you can increase your spend, and while your ROAS goes down, your POAS, your profit on your ad spend, goes up, and your contribution profit dollars go up. So ROAS is a gospel lazy metric to manage to. But when you actually manage and fully load in the costs of selling the product to the customer, load those all in, and you reframe metrics around profit, you actually can unleash better behavior and more effectiveness of the business to drive more dollars, which is the heartbeat of the business.
100%. 100%. And this isn't just for e-commerce, because I see this across the board. And I was just talking with the attorney marketing with Brian Glass. Amazing. If you haven't seen that episode, because it relates to this, is like Google PPC in a service bit, and like for lawyers, it brings in the fastest clients, but actually is the lowest profitability for attorneys. And it's like we see this, and I think it's just because the ads are always ROAS, ROAS, ROAS. That's the only thing people concentrate on.
Yeah. By the way, ROAS is just easy, right? It's an easy metric to manage to. And POAS is hard because you have to actually calculate your cost of goods sold on that. And you have to understand all the other fees that go into it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's leakage that happens, and it's hard to isolate your profit when you look at it from a revenue metric.
100%.
And so this is why people should be switching and incentivizing. To me, it's all about like incentivizing behavior that we want to achieve. And if you're looking to make more profit, right, you have to switch the metrics that you're managing to internally towards profit-driven metrics that really like build the P&L, the bottom line on the P&L.
And I don't want to completely shift this, but I want to, because I really want to get back to AI, because I think it really relates to it, because I see a lot of people using AI and they're just using it in such the wrong way that it's not helping them. And if anything, it's hurting them. What are the ways that you see people using it the wrong way, and how are you using it and personally using it?
Yeah. So like when I show friends on like what I've been up to with AI, I think they're pretty surprised at what I'm doing with it. So like ChatGPT specifically is very part of my entire day to day. Like I have it on, I have 3 monitors right now in front of me, and ChatGPT is typically on a monitor to the left of me where I'm constantly prompting it. So I think to answer your first question, which is, well, how are people doing it wrong? One is I think that they're not thinking out of the box. I think it goes back to thinking out of the box, right? I think it goes back to how are things I can improve what I'm doing using AI today? And so they think about it like going to the spa versus going to the gym. Going to the spa, you just go, you put your hands out and you just put your palms open to the heavens and you receive. When you go to the gym, you have to put in the work. And when you put in the work, you extract the fruits of your labor. And so I put in the work into building really strong prompts, and prompting is everything, to unlock and to achieve the behavior that I want from AI. Now, I can share with you personally how I'm using it, and I can share with you on a business level how I'm using it.
Let's do it.
So an example, I just shared this with a friend. So a couple of weeks before we're having this podcast, I was in Costa Rica. And as I'm kind of frazzled, I have a 5.5-year-old, and my wife's pregnant. But as I'm leaving my house, I look in my closet and I'm like, wow, my closet is like kind of a disaster, right? It needs work. And I have a housekeeper, and I pay her while we go away. Like if we go on vacation, like we don't want to lose her, so we pay her for the time. And so I didn't want her to be dormant. I want her to be, I'm very hyper focused on efficiency, right? And I didn't want her just to do nothing. I wanted her to do stuff. So what did I do? I took photos of my closet, okay? And I left just with the photos of my closet. And while I was in Costa Rica, when I had a free moment, I prompted ChatGPT. I'm just gonna give you like one example. I can give you so many more examples. But I was like, hey, ChatGPT, you're an expert organizer. Now, I'm gonna send you photos of my closet. I want my closet to be perfect. What do you suggest I do to improve the closet? Bullet point your suggestions. Tell me exactly and precisely what you want me to change, to replace, to remove, to add. I'm just like paraphrasing right now, right? Don't hold back. Tough love is okay. And be as complete as possible in your response. And it gave me this massive, beautiful list of things to do. And then I was like, okay, well, translate this, bullet point it, translate it, and give it to me so I can give it to my housekeeper because she's Polish. Done. Boom, drop it in. I came home. My closet was impeccable, like perfect.
Was it
and
in
I've
Polish?
Done this. What was it?
Was it in Polish?
Yeah, it was in Polish. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, amazing. But like I did this, by the way, I do this with my closet. I did this with my bathroom. I have a garage gym that I worked on improving, and like just couldn't figure out what to do to improve it. Took photos from different angles, put it in pretty much same prompt, and boom. Like these are like things that people aren't doing but is like the perfect use case for AI for like your personal life.
You know, and I want to stop you there because it is, you're like, well, it's personal, but this frees up your mental energy to do what's really important, right? And concentrate on your business, concentrate on your customers, and and also just improve your team. Because we were talking about this before this, and like you said you're very hands on, and I think it unlocks the ability for you to be hands on, which I think so many people are thinking of AI as, oh, I'm going to be hands off of my business, and
Mm-hmm.
and I feel it's the other way. It's AI should allow you to be more hands-on in the right ways. Do you feel like that's the same thing?
I would say that, by the way, I want to say that sometimes I might be even too hands on. I was hanging out with a friend last night. We went to dinner and he's completely hands off. And he's like, bro, you are in it. Like, you know, every detail of your business. Like, holy moly. And I was like, you know what? Maybe sometimes to my detriment, right? Like, I'm like, that potentially could be negative. I just want to share that, right? It's not all peachy and rosy. Like, I'm very, very involved. And maybe I need to rely more on my team and maybe I'm micromanaging.
Yeah.
But yes, for sure, AI frees up cognitive overload so that you can focus on the things that matter. But also, I find that since I'm so much more efficient with AI, I actually am taking on way more projects, and it's actually I'm just juggling a lot more. Right, I'm doing the creatives, managing my team, I'm doing the sales pitches. Um, but I'm not using AI for sales pitches, but like to improve my sales pitch, I
Mm,
am to improve my website. I'm using AI to make Facebook creatives. I'm using AI to do recruiting. I come up with new. I'm also doing recruiting at my company, and I'm coming up with all the messaging and the techniques around AI.
love that.
So improving my conversion rate optimization on my site also. So these are all things that I never actually like. I never had anybody to talk to about it in my previous startups, and now I have an expert literally
Mm.
within an arm, like within a finger reach of, and like that's dangerous.
Yes, it is. It is. If it's awesome. What's been the most effective way in your business that you've used AI? That you're like, this is the one thing I think everyone should do.
Um, the most effective thing, I would say, if I had to really put one thing, because there's a lot of things, I think spending time to build a GPT for, so you can essentially build your own GPTs inside of ChatGPT. So that might be, for example, like I know a lot of entrepreneurs that are busy answering emails.
Hmm.
And so you can train the GPT around your voice, around your style, around your tone, around your format, your structure, your flow, your vocabulary. And essentially you can use ChatGPT to help you get a leg up on your email flow, where you can go to Gmail, you can print to a PDF, drop it into the GPT, and create really strong responses using the voice technology to help you get through like emails, because emails to me is not high impact, high leverage activities.
No, no, I mean, not responsive emails. I think relationship building emails to connect with people are, but like you said, responding, yeah, it's not. And in general, it's a project management type thing. Just,
Mm.
that's fantastic. And, you know, when Chad and I hung out for the first time, this was a few years, maybe almost 2 years ago now, we were at a mastermind and he was doing some amazing stuff with LinkedIn now. And I want to get a little bit about what's going on with LinkedIn, how he's using AI. So, Chad, what are you doing now with LinkedIn? Because I was fascinated that you're growing a SaaS as an owner, as a founder on LinkedIn. But AI, I think, has changed LinkedIn since we first talked about it. What are you doing now? How are you using it, and how are you using LinkedIn?
Yeah. Well, so when we last chatted, I was exclusively using LinkedIn, and I think it might have been even more than 2 years ago.
Yeah.
But I was creating content with the point of view. And it took me a long time to come up with that content and to come up with all the backlog of the content and like understand how to play the LinkedIn game, so to speak. And now, fast forward, this is the challenge that I'm seeing. And it can't just be me that's seeing this, but the challenge is this: is that the ability to create content has increased at least 10x with ChatGPT,
Yep.
and the ability to consume that content has not. So the problem with that is that the surge in content leads to a ton of overwhelming, low quality content that I consider to be spam. And so what I'm seeing is like it used to be that 99% of LinkedIn was lurkers. They didn't actually engage with creating content. And 1% was actually just posting. And I think that has shifted now with ChatGPT. So all I'm seeing is a ton of these this content to game the system, to pretend like they're experts, to using M dashes and all types of things that is telltale that is ChatGPT. And I don't know actually how this is going to be overcome. I don't know the answer to that specifically.
Yeah, it is. It's interesting because there is there's such an overwhelming amount of content, and I am definitely seeing like organic distribution down, and also there's the other thing I see, and you probably are seeing this too, is bad ideas used to spread but not rapidly, and now there's like I see a lot of bad ideas that seem good, and people are like, and then everyone just it's like an echo chamber because it it gets a lot of engagement, and then I'm like, and I'm not going to call this out, and I was talking about it on another podcast too, but literally I've seen I had one idea that someone posted about Google, and they're like, this is a Google study, blah blah blah, and then I start seeing everyone post it, and then I'm like, it's funny, I never saw that. And I was searching through all my, because I pay attention to what Google does, and I'm searching through all my data, and I'm like, oh, that's not there. And so I found the first person that really wrote about it, and I'm like, hey, where'd you find this? And he's like, yeah, I did. It was a fake thing from Chat GPT. And it's like, oh, but it spread. Are you seeing that? Like a lot of bad ideas being posted out there?
Well, first of all, I think I've toned back on my social media consumption.
Yeah.
But I would say that let's just say I'm focusing on Amazon specifically. I think there's a lot of bad ideas. I think the other problem is that there's incentives behind those ideas, right? So if you're in the Amazon space and you are guiding somebody to, I don't know, might be to raise price, or it might be, hey, I think right now is a great time with tariffs for you to spend more money on advertising, right? There's a back end to that specific comment. It's not necessarily completely authentic. It's not coming from a data-driven place. It's coming from hey, check out my software, check out my newsletter, check out everything has this selfish intent behind it. And I see it on Twitter too, not just LinkedIn, where if you write in the specific way and you format it in the specific way, there's a group of these people doing it this way, and you imitate this, and so essentially everyone's just now gaming and trying to game the algorithm. And I think that's a negative for society.
Yeah, 100%. Because I agree completely. And I was actually in a group I'm with, and it's like, well, the algorithm didn't like this content. I'm like, but don't be a slave to the algorithm. You're not in. Mm-hmm. And what's interesting about it is often because the algorithm plays to the largest common denominator. And that's especially for most of our businesses. If you're in any B2B business, you don't want the largest common denominator, right? Unless you're some how to form a business, very low end solution. And so what is working for you right now on LinkedIn? Or are you just completely?
So I'm posting every now and then. I just did a poll yesterday on when the Trumps are gonna sort of run up, let people vote on it. The day before that, I kind of talked about how AI, the next SaaS business is going to be the agency specifically, and a lot of people don't see that coming. Like I'm trying to post things that are interesting, that gives me an edge because it actually takes thought to think through it. But that's not always the thing that's rewarded. It's not rewarded, like you mentioned, on the algorithm, right? It doesn't appeal to the largest common denominator.
Yeah, but it gets the views of the right people, which
Exactly.
it's a tough thing for a lot of people to understand. That it's a tough thing for me to get across because we do that and they're like, well, this video only got 50 views. I'm like, yeah, but you got a call from an airline, right? Because you spoke to that person. It's back to the whole 1,000 true fans thing. Oh, that's really interesting. And so, what is like with that shift? Where
Yeah.
is your focus now with your SaaS on growing
Well,
and marketing it?
yeah. So, well, first of all, like on LinkedIn, I'm constantly trying to challenge the audience versus please the algorithm. Number one.
Mm,
So I'm trying. That's a focus of mine. Uh, but I do find that a lot of takes are safe, flat, written by ChatGPT, and essentially, my belief with anything, even with creating businesses or managing businesses, you have to be non-consensus and you have to be right. So,
mm,
um, I'm not like consistent on LinkedIn as I was. I was doing it every day, and I found that there was a more scalable strategy for me that doesn't require all my time, where I can create content like Facebook ads and go hard on that, and it will produce even more leads than I thought I would with LinkedIn. Like I just decided to double down on a new channel, and it's working better.
interesting. And so you're double downing on Facebook ads, and you're succeeding with it.
Yes, I'm wearing a lot of hats thanks to having AI, but I am doubling down on Facebook ads. Again, I do a couple of things on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Twitter, but I'm not consistent the way I was, which by the way, I don't think is great either. I think that causes its own challenges, having a dormant account or not being so responsive. Uh, I am using LinkedIn for recruiting, which I can also talk about.
Yeah,
But I'm a recruiter in my company right now, which is very important to startups. And I'm also the Facebook creator of ads.
interesting, interesting. And you're doing a lot, and I'd love to talk about. So let's talk a little bit about Facebook ads and then recruiting because I want to be cognizant of your time, but Facebook ads always fascinate me, fascinate people. What's your go-to with the Facebook ads? Like what's the thing that's working the most?
Yeah. So Facebook, what I notice is that, again, like I mentioned, Facebook allows me to scale my time. So it's giving me a lot more reach. Sure, I need to pay for that reach across my audience of Amazon brands, private label brands that are on Amazon. And I can get really granular. And if I can crack it, right, I can keep my cost per impressions down. So I'll give you like the strategy is I look to see what's working actually. I'm not a incredible creative genius, but there's this R&D strategy that I employ, which is pretty much rip off and duplicate.
Mm,
So so it's like looking to see what's working and seeing how I can sort of replicate that and inject that into the creatives that I'm building for my own business. So I'm
interesting.
testing hooks, I'm testing formats, I'm doing video, I'm doing static images, I'm doing user generated content. I'm experimenting and it's working.
Do you feel that it's the experiment as a whole, or because I do feel like that kind of helps is like uh, having different formats because you never know what someone like. Yeah, one thing might take off because of an algorithm, but different people are attracted to different things. Is it as a whole, or are you finding one thing and then running after it?
So I think the amazing thing about Facebook is that um, Facebook is a robot and it'll go out and find. So you can create really cold, broad campaigns, and Facebook will go out and find who your ideal client profile is. And then once you find that winner, it'll double down on that winner and scale it even more and further out. So that's what I'm finding is the sauce. Like, let Facebook go out with their algorithm. You create the content and put it out there, and then they're going to go super deep and figure out who's the right person.
Interesting. And now, I mean, there's so much gold here, but I definitely, since you're here, I want to get you on recruiting, because I think recruiting is marketing, right? I think very few people do this the right way. And we talked a little bit about it beforehand, but I feel like you're getting there. What's your view on it, and how are you doing it that way?
Okay. Well, I'm very focused on international markets. So there is a labor arbitrage opportunity. I'm a startup. I'm a scrappy startup. I don't have a lot of capital, and I need to shake what my mama gave me. Therefore, that requires me to find smart people that are offshore, which could be controversial, by the way, and that's okay. But I got to do what I have to do for the business to stay afloat, right? And so I do have US talent, and I'm very focused on international talent. Two is, the way to win in a company is to have the right butts in the right seats. And so we need to constantly be leveling up our team. I have built a really interesting assessment test to make sure that I'm testing for critical thinking skills top of funnel, to validate people before they come into my funnel, mid funnel or bottom of funnel. And I'm doing all the recruiting myself, because I think that it goes back to incentives, right? Recruiters are incentivized to find you because they take a percentage of the salary. So they're not looking to find you the cheapest candidate, right? They're looking to find you the most expensive candidate that fits your budget. And so I do recruiting myself, and I'm using LinkedIn tools to help automate that process.
Interesting. And I mean, recruiting these people, and it's not just putting it, tell me a little bit about how you're coming up with the right listing and job posts for them.
Well, first of all, I have already job descriptions that we've created in the past, and then I'm using ChatGPT to even make them even better. And yeah, we just essentially, I think it's also, there's some credibility of like the founder reaching out to people directly versus a recruiter reaching out. So if I sent you a message and I said, hey, I'm a 3-time founder, I'm building my next amazing startup, I looked at your background, it's incredible, you sound like the perfect fit, how would you like to join a fast moving startup where you can make a massive impact and really contribute? Something like that, right? Like, let me know if you're interested. Chat. That sounds a lot better than be like, hey, there's this position here for an AE available. Are you open to new opportunities? Or I don't know. I just think that there's some credibility around the founder reaching out and doing their own research around finding the right people, bringing them into the funnel. And then, we put them through various assessment tests before we even bring them into the regular, before we even have a conversation, we bring them through 2 different tests to make sure they're the right fit.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I mean, this has been fantastic. There's just so much here. We're going to have you back. But if I want to finish this off kind of how we started, in this chaos right now of whatever's going on with the tariffs, whatever's going to happen in the economy, the big shifts, where do you see as the number one opportunity for especially Amazon store owners?
For Amazon store owners, that's a good question. The big opportunity. Well, first, I think you need to weather the storm, right? And so I think you need to take the chaos and see how you can relocate your leverage. And essentially, I think a lot of times, even chaos, the pandemic, there's cracks in businesses, and this chaos amplifies it. and it opens that wound. And I think as a business owner, me specifically, I go through different departments, kind of like an old school typewriter. You know how the typewriter, when you type on it, it goes back to the beginning again. You go into different buckets. So I think you have to go through those buckets like a typewriter and then go back to the start again and then start all over again.
Interesting.
So essentially you're just reshuffling where you're putting your time to solve for these wounds, these cracks, let's just say, to patch them up. And so I'm finding opportunity in the tariff situation right now. I'm going through massive amount of data. I'm reading the customs, the CBP rules and regulations. I'm looking at like what's happening, what rules are applying, what rules are maybe there's always openings in these rules for leverage. And it's the same thing with pricing, finding what's mispriced. You're just doing it in your actual business. And so essentially what you're doing is you're just recalibrating around it to find those opportunities. I'll give you just one last example that I think is really super interesting. When the pandemic happened, okay, I have an e-commerce business and we made vacuum bags, filters, parts, right? We had all this excess inventory, these vacuum bags that are HEPA bags. HEPA bags happen to be the same quality as the face mask that you wear on your face. And at the time I was living in New York, there was a foundation that somebody created called the Masked Warriors Foundation. And I made a donation to the Masked Warriors Foundation because they were stitching together masks because there was a shortage of masks that happened during the pandemic. I just decided to make a donation. I had no intention or incentive or anything. I was just like, hey, let me do my part. This is just inventory sitting here. Let me help out. So to make a long story long, I made this donation and I got publicity for it. Like a news station picked me up, a local news station picked up this big donation that I made to the Masked Warriors project in New York. And somebody saw it online in California. I don't know how. And they reached out to me. It actually happened to be a company called Headley and Bennett, which makes like aprons for like really cool chefs. I love their stuff that they do, but they pivoted a lot of their work towards masks during the time. And I became their exclusive supplier of the filters for the masks.
Wow.
That's a great example of just like finding opportunity and in the chaos, finding nuggets where you can make more money.
That's really, it's interesting. And like, it's out of the box. Right. And I think that's where, that's, I think also coming back to AI, that's the problem with AI. Sometimes it's because people are just allowing AI to get it into the box and not thinking for themselves instead of using it as a thought partner. Even though you didn't use AI for that, I think that it really comes back to it. But
actually, I used the old school method. I was in the shower when I came up with that idea. And they say like shower like helps you like open up new portals of the mind. And that's just what happens. So I think it comes down to actually paying attention.
Yes. And opening your mind, paying attention, thinking about it. And staying focused. Well, Chad Rubin, Profasee, this has been amazing. This is fantastic. Thank you so much for being on the Garlic Marketing Show. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. And hopefully this is great for your audience. If your audience wants or has questions, they can always reach out to me, chad@profasee.com. You can find me on LinkedIn, on Twitter. It's Chad Rubin is my name there. Come find me, come chat. I'm open.
And we'll definitely put all of that in the show notes. Definitely follow him on LinkedIn, writing some great articles. And whether you're growing a SaaS or growing your e-commerce company or just growing a company, this is great advice. And Chad, 4 times, success, you can't beat that. Chad, thanks again. And thank you all for taking Chad and I on your journey. This has been Iron Garlic and the Garlic Marketing Show.